Hi guys. So today I am going to talk about the Citizenship Amendment Act. I will try my best to lay down the facts that pertain to this particular act and how it affects anybody and everybody in India. Just talk about what the act is and how it affects the people, who does it really affect, and all of that. And also touch upon NRC, considering that it is a big part of the problems that are happening around India today. But before that, I would like to read a particular incident. Okay, so this person has shared this incident on her social media. It's a viral post. More than 10,000 people have shared this particular post. And people think that this is what is going to happen when CAA and NRC is applied in India. Okay, so I'm going to read the story first. Try to put a screenshot of this story here on the screen, on this side of the screen. But I'm just going to go ahead and read this and then talk about CAA and NRC and about all the misinformation that is being spread around in the name of NRC and CAA. Okay, so I'm going to start reading the story, the incident. On 6th June this year, I was at work when I got a panicked call from my mother. Your brother, you and I are not on the NRC list. I think that's what she meant, because she's written are on the NRC list, but I think what she meant was that they are not on the list. We have to make an appearance in Nagaon in this week. So this is happening in Assam, okay? Because Assam is the only place in India where NRC has come into existence. So this is happening in Assam. So this person responds to the mother by saying, they have been doing this for a while now. Chill, nothing is going to happen. And her mother retorts by saying, no, the next step is detention. So I booked last minute tickets worth 42,000 for 11th of June for the three of us from Delhi to Guwahati to go show documents that prove that our lineage can be traced within India beyond 1971. A privilege that lakhs of other Assam residents living in poverty couldn't afford, neither in the ability to appear on such a short notice, nor in having the education and resources to get these documents in place. It is important to understand why we did not appear in the list. Again, I think that's what she means. She's written, it is important to understand why we appeared in that list. My mother had been fighting a case in Nagaon court since 2016 to prove that she was an Indian citizen. She was born in Assam to Bengalis who had always lived in what is today Assam's territory, but there was name spelling issues. Since her case was under trial at the time of NRC, my brother and I appeared in the list as well. We had to resort to making an argument that we are the children of our father, who is a rightful citizen of this country. And then in brackets she says, my mother eventually won the case. The fact that we were born in India, had Indian passports, Aadhaar cards, school leaving certificates, etc. did not matter. Yet, here was a tacit understanding that we are Hindus and will ultimately not fall through the cracks. 5 months later, CAA ensured that I'm sure I don't need to educate you on the amendment. What CAA also ensures is that lakhs and lakhs of Muslims living in India will fall through the cracks when the nationwide NRC is eventually implemented. Most of them will not have the privileges I have listed above in my Assam NRC experience. They won't have 40,000 in their bank account to make last minute bookings. Their voting card, passport, Aadhaar card, birth certificate, etc. will not matter. What will matter is 10 years lineage documents that are often hard to furnish, especially for those living hand to mouth. Incredulously enough, CAA has the inbuilt safety net that insulates people from other communities. I have first-hand experience of a flawed concept, which is actually the brainchild of Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, who accepted NRC in the Assam Accord, while being steeped in privilege. I don't wish that on anyone else in my country, and most definitely not in a discriminatory manner, that CAA combined with NRC will ensure. It is unconstitutional and, more importantly, immoral. If you do not agree with my views, please remove yourself from my friend list. It is no longer about being on different ends of a political spectrum. It is about being on the right side of history. And then she's written a clarification saying, I think the post explicitly didn't mention this and friends have messaged, but we were not present in the NRC list of 18 lakh. We made an argument for paternal lineage which worked. Couple of things that I need to touch upon when we are going to discuss this. First thing she says is that they didn't make it to the NRC list. Now, NRC is already implemented in Assam. So what is NRC in Assam? Because the story starts off with NRC being implemented in Assam and how a person was affected by it, let us start off with NRC in Assam itself. Now, what is NRC? NRC is the National Register of Citizens. Okay. Now, why was the National Register of Citizens why is it only implemented in Assam? It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen after Amit Shah proposed or announced the CAA. This has been in the works from the 1950s onwards. And there is a very specific historic reason for why this is happening. This was proposed in Assam. Okay? There was migration from Bengal area. There was migration of peasants for people into the Assam region for a really long time, even before India gained independence. So from Bangladesh, there were people moving into India for whatever reasons. There was a lot of migration that happened from that area to Assam. Okay. Now, to identify the illegal immigrants, the National Register of Citizens was prepared for the first time in Assam during the conduct of 1951 census. Why was the NRC proposed in Assam? It was because of how Assam is placed, geographical setup of Assam. There was a lot of people coming from East Pakistan, and then which eventually became Bangladesh, into Assam. And because of these illegal immigrants coming into Assam, there were a lot of unrest as well. So to identify who was illegal, who were illegal and who legally belonged to Assam, the government proposed the National Register of Citizens in Assam. That happened in 1950s. Now, because of whatever reasons, now you can go to Wikipedia, you can find your sources for what NRC of Assam entails. But this is the backdrop of it. This is why NRC was implemented, or NRC was initially proposed in Assam. So the National Register was supposed to help identify these illegal immigrants and to send them back to Bangladesh. But the government found it very difficult to kind of make it practically happen. It is a huge exercise to kind of imagine what does the exercise entail. It needs the government to kind of list down every single person living in Assam and identify each one of them as belonging to India. One of the major reasons why these students protested was because there was an unexplained surge of voters. There was an unexplained surge of voters, surge of electors in the voters list for the assembly constituencies in certain pockets of the state. Now, there was maybe mistrust in the political process because it is in a democracy you have to be elected to form a government, and if there is doubt, if there is any sort of question to that process, maybe that was one of the reasons why this huge protest broke out. And that protest was so huge, that movement was so huge, it was known as Assam agitation or the Assam movement, and it was led by All Assam Students Union and All Assam's Gana Sangram Parishad, and it lasted for 6 years. At the end of it, after 6 years of protesting and fighting for these illegal immigrants to be deported from Assam, the Assam Accord was signed between the agitating parties and the Union of India in 1985. And Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister at that point. The government was also experimenting as to how exactly can they curb the problem of the illegal immigrants in Assam. And eventually they dropped the plan to build the National Register, even though that was still a part of like it was there in the background, but they stopped actually actively working towards building this National Register. And finally in 2013, because of a writ petition given by Assam Public Work and Assam Sanmatilas Mahasangha, the Supreme Court ordered the NRC project to be taken up again. Since then, the Supreme Court of India has been closely monitoring the process and holding regular hearings on representations made to it by various interest parties and stakeholders. Now, this project started in 2013. It has been monitored by the Supreme Court, and in 2019, it was finally completed. Okay, there is a lot of there's a set of documents that needs to be presented to be included in the NRC of Assam. All of these details you can find it again on that Wikipedia page. I can share the link here if necessary. But the idea is just that, so the NRC, this was the history of why the NRC was implemented or was needed in Assam. It is necessary to build the context of NRC, okay? NRC specifically in Assam, not in the rest of India, in Assam. Now, so this girl says that she's a part of Assam, and that her mother had issues with her documents, which was spelling issues with the documents, which is quite possible. I personally know people who have had 2 different names in 2 different documents, and that will be considered a discrepancy. Even when you apply for a passport, if you have an extra letter in your school leaving certificate, for instance, and you're going to apply for a passport, you already have a passport that is expired, that has a particular spelling, and when you're going to update this passport, and if the document that you're submitting has a difference or a discrepancy in your spelling, you need to actually, in the spelling of your name, you need to give it into the Gazette and change your name according to whichever, and then apply for the passport. There are provisions for updating any changes, any issues that might come up with these set of documents. So she says that the mother had issues with her document. There was spelling errors in her document, because of which there was a problem, and that they won the case. Now, another thing that she says is that her mother, her brother and herself have had passports. She says that the fact that we were born in India, had Indian passports, Aadhaar cards, school leaving certificates, etc. did not matter. So basically she had all of these documents, right? So the mother had problems proving that she was from India, even though she had documents, and because there was discrepancy in the documents, and but it all ended well, because she ends up saying that the mother eventually won the case, and they resorted to making an argument that we are the children of the father, who is rightfully so. The father did not have issues with with his citizenship, and he was automatically included in the NRC, is what I understand from her story. So she says that she's an Indian citizen and she has an Indian passport. Okay, so you will not be given your passport without actual verification. If you have ever taken a passport in your life, you will understand, you will know what is the procedure that you need to go through to get a passport in India. If you have an Indian passport, that in effect means that you are a citizen of India. Now she says that it didn't matter. I don't know why she says that it didn't matter, because she also says that she won the case eventually. Because of discrepancy in the spellings, her mother's name and subsequently her name and her brother's name was not included. But when they said that they were their father's children, and the father had already proven his citizenship, they were also given citizenship, like they were also included in the NRC. But the mother had problems, which again eventually she won. Now she goes on to say, now this is where the problem comes up. She goes on to say that because we were Hindus, ultimately we will not fall through the cracks. 5 months later, the CAA ensured that. And then she also goes on to say that, I'm sure I don't need to educate you on the amendment. I wish she had actually bothered to read what the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 is. You don't have to educate anybody else, at least yourself. You need to do that. Now let us go to CAA. NRC in Assam, I'm hoping that I have clarified what NRC in Assam is. Now let us go to CAA. Now what is Citizenship Amendment Act? It was passed by the Parliament of India on 11th December 2019. It amended the Citizenship Act of 1955 by providing a path to Indian citizenship for Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi and Christian religious minorities fleeing persecution from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. So it is evident that these religious minorities have been persecuted. So India is saying, if you have come to India, and okay, now the time frame is also important here. It allows people who have come to India before the 31st of December 2014, that is, they have completed 5 years in India already while this amendment is being passed. So if you have come from Pakistan, Bangladesh or Afghanistan to India, you belong to one of these religious minorities and you've come here to live because you are not able to live in any of these countries. You're already living in India for the past 5 years. You will be granted citizenship. Now a lot of people have been asking, why are you not including Muslims? Why is this differentiation happening? See, those questions are valid if this reason had not been provided. If they just said, we're just going to bring in Hindus, we're just going to bring in Christians. If that was the situation, yes. But the statistics proves that these religious minorities have been persecuted in these countries. So that is the rationale behind giving them asylum, giving them citizenship in India. Now the most ridiculous argument that I have heard about this entire discussion on the CAA, and this girl's story helps me prove that this is what the mainstream believes, is that because of this amendment, people in India, citizens of India, are getting affected. Because this girl says that because she was a Hindu, even though her name was not in the NRC, and because CAA came into place, she was given, like, her problems were kind of sorted out. She then goes on to say that her Muslim friends, Muslim neighbors will not get that privilege. And then she also goes on to say not just the communal aspect of it, but she also goes on to say financial problems with it. Like, not everybody will have money to come and, present themselves, the minute you call them. All of this. There's a lot of picture of victimization that she provides in her story. It is ridiculous. Simply because you are a citizen of India. The Citizenship Amendment Act only applies to people who are citizens of Bangladesh, Pakistan or Afghanistan. They have to prove that they are citizens of these three countries. They have to prove that they are of one of these communities. And that is only and only applicable to people from these countries, to citizens of those countries. People who are already in India, people whose grandparents were in India, whose grandparents and their grandparents were in India, you have nothing to worry about. What that girl says in her message is extremely ridiculous. She says that she is an Indian and then she says that CAA helped her. There is no way that is even logically possible. She is not even eligible to apply for a CAA provision simply because she is a citizen of India. She doesn't qualify to apply for citizenship through CAA. If she's already a citizen of India, if she already has a passport that has been released by the government of India, why is she even bringing in CAA here? CAA doesn't apply to her at all. CAA is not meant to curb anybody's rights. There was a Liaquat Nehru Pact that was signed by Nehru, in which both countries agreed that they will not persecute the minorities, that they will respect the minorities of each of these countries, and that they will be given equal opportunities in spite of being minorities. The current state of these countries, of the minorities in these countries, is proof that this pact was not respected. Now, the process of naturalization, where you become the citizen of India after 11 years of staying in India, is applicable to everybody. It's not only for people from the three countries, it's for anybody and everybody who has been in India for the past 11 years. This particular amendment is for a very, very specific group of refugees living in India. People from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh who have come to India fearing minority persecution in their countries. They are the only people who are even eligible to apply for citizenship under the Citizenship Amendment Act. It is so simple to understand. It doesn't even apply to anybody who is already a citizen in India. So if this girl says that she's already a citizen in India, then CAA is not going to help her case at all. If her name has been excluded from the NRC for whatever error. See, the errors can be many. Clerical errors, loss of documents, everything can happen. I'm not denying that at all. But for whatever reasons, if this girl was not included in the NRC, there is absolutely no way she will be given any sort of consideration under the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. The same way, none of her Muslim friends will be given will have to face any sort of discrimination either under the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. How is this so difficult to understand? It baffles me the kind of discussions that has been going around, what people have been saying about what it is, and it is as straightforward as possible. The reason for selecting these 6 communities have been very clearly mentioned. There has been a time limit. So if at all, another discussion that I hear is about people who say that the BJP is trying to bring in more people from the Hindu community into India. The only way that is possible is if they had already known that they were going to do something like this, and they have gone and brought in people, something like a time machine or something, where they have gone and brought in so much of people, and the data can prove that if there has been that much of an influx of people before 31st of December 2014. That is the only way BJP could have done this with an intention to flush out the Muslim community. Where is it flushing out the Muslim community? How is it persecuting the Muslim community of India at all? Instead of persecuting a particular community, it is inviting persecuted communities from neighboring states to come to India. It is a provision that allows the government to grant citizenship and not to revoke it. Why are the Muslims not included in this? I think I've made it clear already. These 3 states are Muslim states. It is constituted as Islamic countries, and because of that, the Muslims do not fit into the category of being a religious minority. Again, the article is very clear about it being a religious minority and not a sectarian minority. That is why, so within Hindu we have different castes. So within Muslims they have different sects. But you cannot decide. Now again, there is one article that always comes up in these debates, which is the Article 14. Now equality amongst equals is what is considered. So if that has to be applied, in minorities you cannot decide who gets precedence over the other, and that would be unfair. The same way, you cannot decide which sect gets precedence over the other, because again, that actually violates the argument of equality in the whole debate of whether this article is constitutional or not. Now, I would like to add a disclaimer here. I am not educated in the law at all. I have been listening to lawyers talk about this. I have been reading up about this, and this is what I have understood from what I have been reading. Okay, and I don't think it's very complicated. It's not something that's difficult to understand. It's just that a lot of people just refuse to understand this. I would like to read this gem of a statement that this girl has ended her status with. She says, what CAA ensures is that lakhs and lakhs of Muslims living in India will fall through the cracks when the nationwide NRC is eventually implemented. Most of them will not have the privileges I have listed above in my Assam NRC experience. They would have 40,000 rupees in their bank account to make last minute bookings. Their voting cards, passports, Aadhaar cards, birth certificates, etc. will not matter. What will matter is 10 years lineage documents that are often hard to furnish, especially for those living hand to mouth. Incredibly enough, CAA has built the safety net that insulates people from other communities. Extremely wrong. It hasn't provided any sort of any special status to anybody in India. If an NRC is implemented in India, it will be implemented all around India for everybody. The CAA doesn't even come into the picture of the NRC being implemented. If you have issues with your documents, even without the CAA ever being implemented, your NRC will have a problem. If you have two documents with two different spellings of your name, you will have a problem. Now, what is the set of documents that is required to prove your leniency, to prove your citizenship? Nobody really knows, because that has not come out. A government has not come up with any prescribed set of documents that is required to prove that you are a citizen of the country. What is the problem in having a national registry of citizens? I fail to understand even that. Why is it such a big problem that the government of India wants to maintain a register of all the citizens of India? Every country has that. We have something called the census, which takes these statistics, which tells you the number, the demographics of it, and that in a sense forms the basis of the NRC. That has also been hinted a number of times. Why not pick on that and speculate? There has been so much of hue and cry about the NRC and the CAA and how they read together, how they read separately, how it is going to affect citizens of India. They are two different set of processes. CAA aims to give citizenship to a certain group of people, and NRC aims to collect details and maintain a register of citizens of this country. So many people have been crying about being victims of the CAA. How are you victims when the CAA is only aiming to welcome more people and not send back people? People are spreading so much of misinformation, of so much of wrong information in the name of CAA and NRC, and it just makes no sense. Why are you worried about your citizenship? Why are you speculating that the government is going to ask you to provide your grandfather's documents so that you can prove that your family has been living? Why are you speculating on it? How does it help the cause? This girl that I have been reading about, she's just crying wolf. She says that she has first-hand experience of how NRC is working. Yes, that might be true. NRC is not, nobody claims that it is a perfect project which has absolutely no loopholes. Nobody is claiming any of that. There might have been issues with documents. There might be issues with documents every time, and that is how it is. Any government procedure you go for, there will be, you might face any issues. You need to consider, you need to factor in that India is such a huge country. The demographic, because of the secular fabric of this country, the demography of this country is also as different. And from the north to the south, from the east to the west, things are different. So when the government is trying to bring something at a pan-India level, there might be issues, and that is true for any government or documents that you want to apply for. I am again reiterating that fact. NRC is a procedure. It is not aimed at segregating anybody. It is not aimed at victimizing anybody or targeting anybody. It is just a register of the citizens of the country. Why are the narratives being mixed? Why are people talking about CAA and then saying that that is going to affect how the NRC is implemented? The CAA is not for the citizens of India. I will say that again and again. The CAA is not for the citizens of India. It is only applicable for citizens from three countries neighboring India, belonging to a very particular set of group or a particular group of people. And if you think that what I have said in this is wrong, you can correct me in the comments. I am open to learning more about it. What is absolutely shameful is the kind of fear-mongering that this girl and many others like her have been engaging in. And this is the problem with every single person who is opposing this. You sit them down, you talk to them about what the CAA is, you ask them what does it entail, what is it saying, how do you feel it is unconstitutional. They have nothing to say. The minute you start defending this CAA, you become branded as a Sanghi, as a saffron terrorist and whatnot. The kind of fear mongering that is happening on social media is scary. What is the intention of this? People don't understand what the CAA is, they still protest against it. Get your facts right, get your facts verified before you start talking about what it is. Then another argument, and the most biggest argument that I've heard, is about the secularism of this act. How is it not secular? It is actually inviting more people who have been persecuted in the name of religion in these countries to come to India. We are telling them that come here, you will feel safe here, because India is secular. People opposing it, in my opinion, are the ones who are actually endangering the secular fabric of the country, because you are saying we do not want these religious minorities to come here. You are actually asking, if you are bringing the religious minorities who are being persecuted there, bring the persecutors also here. The logic behind most of these arguments are just nothing. There's no logic. And that is the problem with saying no to everything before you even listen to what it is. Like I said, the girl says that she doesn't want anybody to go through what she went through. She might have gone through issues, and that was only because of NRC, because of the process, the flaw in the process. That is agreed. Why bring in CAA in between and then say that she was granted citizenship or she was helped because of the CAA allowing Hindus or favoring the Hindus? That is creating communal tension. She might have genuinely not known. I will give her the benefit of doubt and say that she might have genuinely not understood what the act is. That is where discretion comes into place. That is where you need to verify your facts before you write stuff on the social media. Your social media status is no longer just a social media status. Today we live in a world where you need to be extremely cautious and responsible for what you are writing, for what you are spreading. Why are you pushing the fear? Why are you feeding the fear? What do you gain out of this? Likes? Shares? Is that what you gain out of this? This article has more than 10k shares. So my battery ran out as usual, so I just thought that I would give the closing of the video in, like, I'm just shooting it on my phone now. All I want to say is that, you know, you really need to take onus of what you are sharing online. You really need to be more responsible of what you're sharing online. So this girl has shared this story, her story, because and people will believe her more because she not just writes it as an opinion, she says that she has first-hand experience of it. So people will think that what she's saying is true. People who are well-read, who have education, they are the people who are sharing her articles. So you can imagine people who have no access to verify information, what kind of fear they might be living in. Please stop feeding into this fear. It makes no sense. If you really do care about the country and the constitution like you claim to, stop feeding into the fear. Stop telling people, especially the marginalized people, the people who do not have enough education, the people who might not have access to information, stop telling them lies. Stop feeding them stories which are not true. You might not actively participate in a protest, but the minute you share something on your social media without actually verifying the facts for yourself, without actually trying to understand what your stand is, you are also a part of the problem. You are also pushing a propaganda. You are also becoming a part of the problem by doing that. Unintentionally maybe, but you are still doing that. That is why in today's age and today's time, you need to be extremely careful of what you are sharing online, because people just read something. The minute they read it, irrespective of whether they really understand it or not, they want to share things. They want to show that they are also in the middle of everything. They want to show that, see, I'm also aware of everything that's happening around me and all of that. And people just share things. Stop feeding fear. It's not going to help anybody. This is not about political differences anymore. This is not about intellectual differences anymore. People who say that I can say whatever I want because it is my TL and I can share my opinion as I wish. Your opinion is different from facts. Don't share your opinion in such a way that it is masked as a fact. Don't share anything that you are not sure of, that you have not verified yourself. Sharing opinions and sharing facts are two completely different things. Nobody has to agree with everything that's happening around them. I really don't think that at the expense of safety and security and you need to do all of this just for the sake of a few likes and a few comments on your social media platforms. There is a lot of misinformation also being spread in the name of politics, in the name of leadership, in the name of influencers. Everybody are sharing misinformation. The Farhan Akhtar video where he goes for the protest, and then when the news reporter asks him what is he protesting for, what does he find problematic in CAA, he has nothing to say. He says that when you read it, it seems like it is going to be a problem for the citizens of India, which means that he hasn't read it at all. People idolize these people. You need to contribute into making the world a better place, making the country a better place. But I do hope that at least some of you are able to understand what CAA is, what NRC is, what is happening in the country, and what you are, at least you are in a position to kind of think about what your position is now. And at least that you are able to kind of make some sort of individualistic decision based on all the information that you have, or you that are available around you at least. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.